President Reagan has declared this Adult Literacy Awareness Month. Marcus Jones reports tonight the price of illiteracy through the eyes of students and teachers who grapple with it every day.
The woman meant think was
30-year-old Edna Dumas is learning to read. Years ago, when she dropped out of high school in the 9th grade, she assumed that all she had to do was get a job and everything would be fine. Now, barely able to read a newspaper, the mother of 3 children, and unemployed for the last 5 years, Edna realizes she made a mistake.
It's embarrassing. My son is 10 years old, and I had to go to a meeting with him one day, and it was like, oh, gee, my son is doing his ABCs on a computer here. He's doing the math that he can understand on a computer. And, I'm like, I'm his mother, and I can't deal with things like that. And I felt bad, and I came home. I cried because it hurted. And then I looked at my son, and then I looked at my kids, and I said, no, I can't cry anymore. I have to go out here and find something for me.
Illiteracy is not a new phenomenon in this country, but the ever-widening scope of the problem is alarming. Recent federal studies suggest that almost 60 million adults have difficulty reading and writing. That's 1 out of every 4 Americans. And if nothing is done to correct the problem, projections are that the number of functionally illiterate Americans will continue to grow at the rate of 2 million people a year.
It definitely costs this country in terms of welfare and unemployment and workers' compensation, in terms of the prison population. And that's certainly, not being able to read is certainly not an excuse for committing crimes, but it's the way that some people get by when they can't read well enough to get a job.
Roberta Suhlman is Executive Director of Literacy Volunteers of Massachusetts, an organization that tutors adults, such as Edna, in the basic skills that most of us take for granted, yet make it possible for us to complete such mundane tasks as getting money out of a bank machine, to use on the mass transit system, which allows us to get to a desired location without getting run over in the process.
You couldn't get me out of my house for nothing, unless I know I had to do food shopping, take my kids to the clinic, just things I know I had to do.
Because you were afraid of...
Because I was afraid, and I couldn't really, deal with it.
It really makes life a daily struggle. The charades that you go through so that no one else realizes that you're not able to read. You would be amazed at the occupations that some of the people who come into this office who need reading help have. One man was an air traffic controller in Vietnam during the time when that airport was one of the busiest in the world. Other people hold white-collar managerial positions and fake their way through the day, the course of the day, and through the paperwork that they have to do.
Is it dangerous to not be able to communicate through the written word?
To me, it's dangerous. Because if you can't read and you go to a doctor and he give you some medicine to take, you'll wind up taking an overdose of it. And then you're sick, and then you can't really explain the reason why you're sick.
Students come in and they want to know how to read, not to read history, not to read comic books. They want to learn how to read about what's happening now. If there's a warning about a particular medicine or a particular food, they want to know how to find the word lot number. If their child's in school and they need help, they want to be able to read a newspaper to explain something that the child saw on TV.
Estimates are that of the tens of millions of adult Americans who are illiterate, only 4 million are being reached by educators on a national, state, or local level.
Those programs need to expand to reach more people who need the service, and they need more money to do that. They need more teachers, they need more books.
So I put this underneath the one that...
Some programs in the state, some of those adult basic ed programs, have waiting lists of a year or more.
Okay. This word
and that's very discouraging to someone who finally gets up the courage to come forward for help and is told that there's a long waiting list.
Edna is one of the lucky ones because she is learning to read what was once gibberish and participate in the educational growth of her 5-year-old twins.
My daughters, they're going to be something if it kills me. or if it killed them first.
For the 10 o'clock news, I'm Marcus Jones.